Narayana. Jai Ram Krishna. Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Namaskar to all of you. Welcome to the study of Great Master Sri Ramakrishna, written by Shatanandaji Maharaj. We were studying the chapter Grace bestowed on Mathur Babu in the Guru Bhava. So, the Guru Bhava expressed in the form of the grace towards grace bestowed on Mathur Babu in the mood of the spiritual teacher. So, we were seeing the happenings during the Durga Puja in the house of Mathur Babu. Now, nobody could console Mathurnatha Vishwas that it has to be the Divine Mother's image has to be immersed on the Vijayadashmi day. But who can convince him? So they all decided the only person who can do this is Sri Ramakrishna. So all of them consulted together and sent those members of the household who were held in respect by Mathurnath to persuade him to agree to the immersion. They also went and tried but failed to change his mind. Mathur Babu said, "Why? I shall perform the daily worship of the Divine Mother, as I have the means for that, by her grace. Why should I bid goodbye to her?" What could they do under this circumstance? They too came back and everyone concluded that Mathurnath's brain must have got deranged. That conclusion apart, what was now the way out? Every one of the household knew how rash Mathurnath was. Everyone knew when angry, he bade goodbye to his faculty of reason and understanding. Who was going to incur his displeasure by ordering the immersion ceremony of the deity without his approval? Nobody came forward to do that. Exaggerated news reached the mistress of the house. Overwhelmed with apprehension and alarm, she requested Sri Ramakrishna to try to persuade him. For who but Father was there to save them from danger? Who knew if the Babu's brain, that is Mathurnath's brain, had not really been deranged? Now it was the turn of Sri Ramakrishna. The master came and saw Mathur Babu deeply absorbed in thought and pacing up and down the room with his face sombre and eyes red. As soon as he saw Sri Ramakrishna, Mathur came up to him and said, "Baba, let them say whatever they like. Baba, I cannot bid goodbye to mother before I breathe my last. Only I should die. Then only I can bid goodbye, or anybody else can do that. Until I die, I am not going to bid goodbye to Divine Mother. I cannot bid goodbye to mother before I breathe my last. I have told them I shall perform her daily worship. How can I do without my Divine Mother?" So that was his feeling, intense feeling of separation from Divine Mother. The pang, the divine discontentment had arisen in him. So now Sri Ramakrishna had his astra, the famous arm, or the famous missile which he had. Astra was Sri Ramakrishna passing his hand over Mathur Babu's heart. He said, "Oh, is this your fear? But who says that you will have to be without mother? Has anybody told you that you should be separated from the mother? Moreover, where will she go even if the ceremony of immersion of the Divine Mother's image be gone through? Can a mother, the mother of the child, can a mother effort to be away from her own child? She will now be more nearer to you. All these days she was in the image. Now she will be more dearer to you and nearer to you. Sitting in your own heart, she will hereafter accept your worship, so that magical touch of Sri Ramakrishna passing his hand over his chest and bringing down his spiritual state of mind to the ordinary level, and by the sweet words too. Yeah, you should also see, other than the spiritual ministration or spiritual touch, the words of Sri Ramakrishna are so intelligent and wonderful. Even the great psychologists have to learn from Sri Ramakrishna. Now Sri Ramakrishna is convincing, is consoling. How is he consoling? Mathur Babu, he knows now he is adamant like a child. He's throwing temper tantrums just like in front of the mother, the dear child. So Ramakrishna could understand, and he told, "Oh, Mathur, is this your fear? But who says that you will have to be without your mother?" See the way he is convincing. Just sweet words. That's what I tell many parents, many fathers and mothers, how to treat their own children. Ramakrishna is showing the way, how to convince children out of love. We should have patience. Oh, is this your fear, my child? But who says that you will have to be without your mother? Moreover, where will she go away even if the ceremony of immersion be gone through? Can a mother afford to be away from her child? Sitting in the outer hall, she accepted your worship these 3 days, or the Navaratri. She will now be nearer to you. She will be now more nearer and dearer to you. How? Sitting in your own heart. She will hereafter accept your worship. That is what really going to happen. The ceremony of the immersion, whether of the Ganesha Puja done in some part of India, or the Divine Mother's image being done and immersed in the water. I have explained it to you yesterday. What is the significance behind that? The Lord, the Divine Mother, in her real nature as a formless, attributeless Parabrahma Swarupa, takes the form of the Divine Mother in that image of mud and clay, for the sake of the devotee, to help the devotee, to bring in that devotion, to make them understand what God is. Then she will not allow us to stay there in the lower state. She will give us knowledge and lift us up to her plane of formlessness, infinite, eternal, attributeless state. So now the image will be immersed in the water, which is again formless. So the form, name and form will be merged in the formless. That is the water, is the ocean or the river, whatever. Water doesn't have any form. So that is the symbolical aspect of this immersion. Then after that, we will come to know that she was all the time there in your heart. So you couldn't recognize that because of the impurity and desires. By the arrival of mother and by all that puja, havan, and all that rituals, your mind is purified. Now you can see the mother who is in your own heart. She has become very nearer to you, dearer to you. The Lord who had taken the shape and form and name now has immersed in its real, that is formless and attributeless state. But you have that, the whole thing in your own heart. You need not go on searching outside. So that is the thing which we have to learn from all these things. How our religion, the great Sanatana Dharma Hinduism, is lifting us from the animal level to the human level, and from the human level to the divine level. So Ramakrishna is telling him, she will now be nearer to you, sitting in your heart. She will hereafterwards accept your worship. That is the reality. Go to the temple, see the image, see the Lord there, consciousness manifested. Then after some time, you have to bring it to your own heart, make your own individual self, or this body itself as a temple where the Lord resides in the heart. That is the idea behind the image worship, the temple, and all these things. So we have got a wonderful lesson from this. So many different kind of lessons we got. What is the idea behind the image worship, idol worship? Why in Hinduism there is still this idol worship? And then the perfect way of handling psychologically. Mathur was in that state, disturbed state, how nicely by sweet words. We need not use harsh words. We need not use himsa, violence, to control somebody. So by your sweet behavior, sweet words, how you could transform a person, even such an angry person who couldn't be. So Ramakrishna has shown that. It's difficult to explain what a marvelous and charming power these words and the touch of Master had. It was seen on many occasions that a visitor was engaged in heated discussion with Sri Ramakrishna and was by no means inclined to accept his conclusion. Why was that? Why do we argue? Why do we have that adamantine view? Because of our ego. So what would be the method by which Ramakrishna would remove that? It was seen, Shardananda Maharaj is telling on many occasions, that a visitor was engaged in a heated discussion with Sri Ramakrishna and was by no means inclined to accept his conclusion, when the latter would cleverly touch the other person, and immediately the strong tendencies, the samskara of that person's mind, due to which he had held contrary views, would vanish. The ego would melt. The samskaras would melt away by the touch of Sri Ramakrishna. When the latter would cleverly touch the other's person, and immediately the strong tendencies, samskaras, the habits which have been formed, which is making us to behave egoistically like that, argue with everybody and tell that I am the only right person, all the other are wrong. So that samskara, the tendency, strong tendency of the mind, due to which he had held contrary views, would vanish, leading him to wind up the arguments with the acceptance of Sri Ramakrishna's view unreservedly. So, can you perform any better miracle than transformation of your character, removal of your ego, accepting the highest truth, understanding the highest truth? Is this not the real miracle? The transformation of a person from an egoistic, argumentative, full of pride, a person is transformed into a humble, and all the samskaras are melted away, bad tendencies and habits? Is that not the real miracle which has to happen? Do you think just producing of some ashes, producing of some golden ring and other presents are miracles that any magician can do? Can the transformation of the tendencies of the person, the character of a person be changed for the positive removal of the ego? We ourselves, if we have to put in the effort to remove one of our habit, it may take so many lives for that to do. We have seen people to give up one small habit of smoking. They undergo palpitations. Their body will be shaking. They will get headaches. They will get body pains. They will throw temper tantrums on everybody. And they have to go to the psychiatrist. They have to go to the psychologist, take the medicines. They will be spending sleepless night just to give up one habit in life. That too started in this life. Such hundreds of habits are there, making this individuality so egoistic. And to remove that by your self-effort, is it possible? It may take many, many, many lives. And by just the touch, by just the words, sweet words of Sri Ramakrishna, by the study of the life of Sri Ramakrishna, if you hear the great life and teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, your life will get transformed from that brutal level where you cannot control, where you are impulsive, where you are instinctive, to the intellectual level, and from there to the divine level, intuitive level. Is this not the real miracle which has to happen? Yes. So now Ramakrishna himself is telling. He said, Sri Ramakrishna, to some of us on this matter, do you know why I touch people that way when I speak? I do it so that the power by virtue of which the obstinacy is persisting in them, the power of their ego, the argumentative nature, the fighting nature, always telling that I am right and the others are wrong, that character. Do you know why I touch people that way when I speak? I do it so that the power by virtue of which that obstinacy is persisting in them might lose its force, and they might realize the truth rightly and accurately. Both the things are happening. They will realize the truth accurately and rightly, and they will lose the bad tendencies, the ego, the impurity by which they are made to think in that fashion. So both the things are happening. Removal of the agnana, nescience, ignorance, and positive giving of the right knowledge. So that is the work of the Guru. That's why we are dealing with that chapter. What is the name of the chapter? Guru Bhava. The mood, the spiritual mood of a teacher. What is the definition in Sanskrit of the Guru? We always know, we always tell about Gu Shabdasya Andakaraha, Ru Shabdasya Nivaranam. Gu means ignorance, darkness, and Ru means removal of the darkness or ignorance. So that is the one aspect of the Guru, which we know everyone will be quoting this all the time during Guru Purnima or talking about the Guru. That's wonderful. There's another aspect, Granhati Upadishati iti Guruhu. By constant giving the right knowledge to us, Granhati Upadishati, by the right advice, giving us the positive attitude. He gives us the knowledge. That is also another aspect, positive aspect of Guru. Grinhati Upadishati iti Guru. So by which all our samskaras, all our pride, egotistic nature, those samskaras, the habits which have been formed from many lives, will be broken, will be melting, and in its place the right knowledge will come. Ramakrishna himself is telling, explaining, do you know why I touch people that way when I speak? I do it so that the power by virtue of which that obstinacy, obstinacy is persisting in them might lose its force and they might realize the truth rightly and accurately. We have seen and heard many instances of how, by a mere touch, he used to diminish and sometimes even destroy forever, not just temporarily, but he would destroy forever the strength of powers standing as obstacles in others' path to the realization of truth. The highest miracle anybody can perform, that is removing of that ego, the bad samskaras, the ignorance, is very, very difficult. Mahamaya is very, very difficult, and that he could do just by his words, by his touch. We have seen and heard many instances of how, by a mere touch, he used to diminish and sometimes even destroy forever the strength of the powers standing as obstacles in others' path to the realization of truth. By touching, he could draw those obstructing forces. By touching, he could draw those obstructing forces. What are the obstructing forces? The sinful karmas which we have performed, the papa karma, the papa, which is bearing fruit in the form of that ego. So that sinful tendencies, the obstructing forces, by touching, he could draw those obstructing forces into himself. We have often noticed how the very words spoken by others without making any emotional impact on the listener's mind. Many people try to advise others and they will be going on teaching them, telling them not to do that, not to do that. But we see that an iota of change will not happen. They will have created a mental barrier. The ego, the sinful tendencies will create that mental barrier and will not allow any of that to sink in or make any changes. Our ego is so strong. So Shardanand Maharaj is explaining, we have often noticed how the very words spoken by others, without making any emotional impact on the listener's mind, made very deep impression on them, even instantly changed the course of their lives. Not only made impact on them, instantly changed the course of their lives when they came from Sri Ramakrishna's mouth. We shall acquaint the reader with these incidents on some other occasion. Now let us go on with Sri Ramakrishna's Guru Bhava, with that Mathur Babu story. By the touch and words of Sri Ramakrishna, Mathur gradually regained his normal consciousness. We do not know whether this was affected by any kind of vision produced by Sri Ramakrishna's will and touch, because nobody could understand what happened by the touch and the words of Sri Ramakrishna. Mathur might have had the vision of Mother in his own heart. So you could see the Divine Mother who was there manifested in the image, now in his own heart. That's why in Belur Math, after the Visarjana, that is the Darpana Visarjana in the mirror, in the evening they are going to take to the Ganga and immerse in the Ganga, the river Ganga. But when that ritualistic Visarjana is done, their sadhus will sing, Akbar Virajo Goma Tumi Hridi Kamalasane. O Mother, once please manifest in my heart the Hridi Padma, in the lotus of my heart. That is the song they will sing. So to indicate that, we have to take that divinity into our heart. It is already there. We have to manifest that there. So all that image worship and the outer temple worship, everything is to bring to your mind that the Lord is there within your own heart, and you have to manifest that divinity in your own heart. That is the idea. So after that Durga Puja, they sing this song, Akbar, once. Akbar means once. Virajo Goma. Virajo means manifest. Goma, hey mother. Hridi Kamalasane. Hridi means heart. Kamalasana means the seat of lotus in my heart. Please manifest there, mother. That is the song. So that is the idea. So now, by the touch and the words, sweet words of Sri Ramakrishna, Mathurnath might have had the vision of mother in his heart, manifestation of the mother. He could see that. We do not know whether this was affected by any kind of vision produced by Sri Ramakrishna's will and touch. We think this probable, but it seems to us that his eagerness to retain the image must have disappeared only because he began to experience the thrill of joy produced by a keen sense of Divine Mother's presence within. Definitely. Otherwise, how would he have permitted? He was not allowing anybody to take away the image. He was ready to kill anybody who would try to. He was telling there will be bloodshed. Do not try even to do the Visarjana. If anybody even talks of that, I may kill them. That was the state, and now he allowed it to happen. How is this? So Shardanandaji Maharaj is telling, we think this probable, but it seems to us that his eagerness to retain the image must have disappeared only because he began to experience the thrill of joy produced by keen sense of Divine Mother's presence within, illumining the dark cavern, the guha. That's why they will tell Hridi Guha, the heart cave, which is dark now, has to be illumined. So, illumining the dark cavern of his heart with an effulgence unknown to him before. When a true spiritual teacher draws the attention of the disciple to the splendor of the higher ideal, the spiritual mood and planes pertaining to the lower level naturally disappears from his consciousness. When a true spiritual leader, teacher, the Sadguru, the real Guru, when a true spiritual teacher draws the attention of the disciple to the splendor of a higher ideal, the spiritual moods and planes pertaining to the lower level naturally disappear from his consciousness. There is no doubt that Madhu's devotion to and reliance upon Sri Ramakrishna were also the result of his variously testing him. Strange though it might appear to us, Madhu tested Sri Ramakrishna in every manner by tempting to offer him his wealth, by giving him or putting him to the company of beautiful women and unlimited mastery over himself and all his household, as also by freely spending money on his relatives such as Hridaya and others. But he found that unlike others, Ramakrishna was above all these temptations. He saw that also that before the master's discerning eye, the cloak of insincere love and devotion could not conceal its real nature for long. On the contrary, if even after committing misdeeds like homicide and other heinous offenses, anybody sincerely and open-heartedly took refuge in him, he pardoned him all his offenses and cordially accepted him, granting him the power of gradually recognizing and comprehending higher ideals. So there was also place for sinners to transform themselves. Yes, people commit mistake. Everybody, as a human being, any human being, are bound to commit mistake in the path of their progress. But that should not make one to feel guilty. If you surrender, if you take recourse at the feet of the Lord, then the Lord can do any miracle. So you can see here, when anybody would confide sincerely, anybody open-heartedly took refuge in him, even after committing misdeeds and heinous sins, anybody sincerely and open-heartedly took refuge in the Lord, took refuge in Sri Ramakrishna, and confessed their sins. He pardoned him all his offenses and cordially accepted him, taking away his sins on himself and forgiving them. So, Dushta Prajasu Parivartanaya. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling, Apichet Sudurachar, Bhajate Mam Ananya Bhak. Apichet Suduracharo, Bhajate Mam Ananya Bhak. Sadureva Samantavyam, Samyak Vyavasito Hi Saha. That person, any person may be Sudurachar. Durachari means the worst of the person, a sinful tendencies person. A very bad person is Durachari. Achara means good conduct. Durachara means bad conduct. Then Sudurachari means the worst conduct, is the worst of the sinners. Apichet, even a person may be the worst of the sinners. Bhajate Mam Ananya Bhak. These are the words of Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Bhajate Mam Ananya Bhak. If he worships me, the Lord, with single-minded devotion, Sadhureva Samantavyam. Know for certain that person is a saint. Samyak Vyavasito Hi Saha. In the near future, in a very short time, that person, anybody who is worshipping me, will become a saint. Even if he is the worst of the sinner, if he takes refuge at my feet, if he shows his devotion, steady devotion to me, then he is going to become a saint. This is what Krishna promises in Bhagavad Gita. Apichet Suduracharo Bhajate Mam Ananya Bhak Sadhureva Samantavyam Samyak Vyavasito Hi Saha. These are all the words of consolation to all of us. Whatever mistake, whatever sins we might have committed, do not worry. Confide it to the Lord. Go to the Lord. Whatever Ishtadevata you might have, confess all those things and do not commit that again. Then the Lord will take away all the sins and pardon you, forgive you. So that can be seen here with Sri Ramakrishna. On the contrary, if even after committing misdeeds and other heinous sins, anybody sincerely and open-heartedly took refuge in Sri Ramakrishna, he pardoned them all. He pardoned all their offenses and cordially accepted them, granting him the power of gradually recognizing and comprehending higher ideal. Not only he would take away their sins and pardon them, he would also allow them to go forward in their spiritual life. He would find he would find to his surprise that what had been impossible become possible for him now by virtue of a wonderful and unknown power, which was none but Sri Ramakrishna. Keeping the company of Master and observing his experiences of unlimited bliss, Mathur, though a worldly man, once had a desire to directly understand for himself what that experience was. Now, there is the thing called curiosity. You would always see Sri Ramakrishna, Dhrita Sahaja Samadhim. You would be always in that higher state of yoga, either in Bhava Samadhi or having the vision of the Lord of different deities, gods and goddesses, or in whatever different spiritual moods. So now, naturally, you will also get the desire that you too want to have that. So, this kind of desire also came in this Mathur Babu. Mathur Babu, though a worldly man, once had a desire to directly understand for himself what that experience which Sri Ramakrishna used to have. He then had the firm conviction that Father, that is Sri Ramakrishna, could make all persons experience it at his mere will. For was he not himself all the deities? Sarva Deva Devi Swarupa? Because he had seen himself, Shiva and Kali, manifesting in his body. He was that Krishna, he was Rama, he was the avatar of Gadadhar Vishnu. Where was then any difficulty for him in granting divine visions? And there were thousands of people coming from his childhood to the presence of Sri Ramakrishna to get spiritually illumined. They used to get all those spiritual visions. All their problems would be solved. So we have seen that, not one or two, but thousands and thousands of people. So why should I also not have it? This was the idea of Mathur now. Mathur Babu had the firm conviction that Ramakrishna could make all persons experience the higher spiritual ideas by his mere will. For was he not himself all the deities, Sarvadeva Devi Swarupa, Shiva, Kali, Krishna, Rama? Where was then any difficulty in his granting divine visions? And how would it then be strange if he could reveal to anyone by his grace what was nothing but his own other forms? They are all his own other forms. He can easily reveal that to anybody. This conviction. So the conviction is very, very important. Faith. What is that conviction? When the belief manifests into conviction, or when it is manifested in the form of action. Belief in action is faith. So the deep conviction you get. So this conviction was, in truth, a matter of no small wonder. So if all of us get that faith, deep conviction, we can also get that result, any result we want. The person who has faith can get anything in this world. There is nothing impossible for the person to achieve anything with his faith. Faith is the answer. So there is a saying in Sanskrit, Yadi Shraddha Syatam Vidyaya Kim Prayojanam, Yadi Shraddha Nasyatam Vidyaya Kim Prayojanam. Suppose you are having so much of education, going to different educational institutions, the best universities, then you will go to the best place where you can get your PhDs and postdoctorates and so many other things. But if you have not gained faith in yourself, then what is the use of all this education? Yadi Shraddha Nasyatam Vidyaya Kim Prayojanam. What is the use of your education, all your education, if you don't get faith in yourself? Then, Yadi Shraddha Syatam, if you have already got the faith, intense faith, Vidyaya Kim Prayojanam, then what is the use of spending so much of money and going to the university and studies if you have already faith? So, what is the intention of this verse? The intention of the verse is that after getting education, after performing or going through the universities and getting education, what are you supposed to get? The real thing, the real essence which you have to get is Shraddha, perfect faith in yourself, in the capability of yourself that you can achieve anything, you can do anything. Nothing is impossible to you. That Atma Shraddha, that firm faith, that conviction in your strength. Because that infinite Lord, that infinite strength is already existing in you. You have to tap that. So that idea, that Shraddha, that faith, that conviction will come, should come by education. Is our modern day education giving you that? Rather, it is downsizing our Shraddha. It is reducing. It is not at all increasing. So, You can see the faith, the conviction. How could such a person called Girish Chandra Ghosh, who had committed so many varieties of sins, he was such a great drunkard, who could he could get transformed into a saint? Because Shraddha, faith, that Shraddha. So you are all getting the answer. Shraddha is the answer. Firm conviction, firm belief, belief in action, faith, that is the answer. So now Mathur Babu, he had that deep conviction. This conviction was in truth a matter of no small wonder. All those who mixed with him intimately had gradually the conviction that Sri Ramakrishna could by his will make the impossible possible, that by his mere wish he could make anyone realize the truths of the spiritual realm. By virtue of his own spiritual power and the strength of pure character, an ordinary teacher finds it difficult to produce such a realization even in one person. What to speak of being able to do so in the hearts of many thousands of people who came to him? And even now, after his giving up his body, is still performing that miracle of bringing in faith and changing the lives of, transforming the lives of thousands. So it is given to a divine incarnation alone. It is given to the divine incarnation alone to be able to do so. In fact, it is one of the special proofs of one being an incarnation. So this is the not only a special proof of one being an incarnation. And knowing that many will try to deceive people in this world of falsehood and fraud in their holy names, the incarnations are proclaimed. You know, many people outside the world, they will be having so many followers, they will be duping them by their hypocrisy, telling that they are great gurus and give themselves so many names, and for the sake of they will be charging so many dollars and money. So that will be a money making way. Even they will use spirituality and that very pure thing of the guruship also will be used to make money. So these incarnation knew that in future or all the time such hypocrites will be there. Swami Vivekananda used to always tell, every fool is a follower. Anybody who claims that he is a guru, anybody who claims that he has so many powers, there will be followers to them. So that's why Swami Vivekananda used to use the word, every fool has a follower. Now, our Swami Harshanandaji Maharaj, who was there in Bangalore, he used to tell, no, fools have more followers. If Swami Vivekananda had told, every fool has a follower, Swami Harshanandaji Maharaj used to tell, no, fools have more followers. So that's why the Lord knew that if there is a real apple, always there will be the imitation apple. Likewise, if there are real gurus, then people will start imitating them externally and they will become hypocrites and they will dupe many people, just like the blind leading the blind, and both of them will go and fall to the ditch. Andhe naiva niyamana yatandaha andakupe patanti. This is the words of the Kathopanishad. The Lord of Death, Yama, is telling to Nachiketa. See, in other religions, the God of Death is a fearful thing. They will be afraid even to look at him. God of Death means they will be afraid. But in Hinduism, the speciality is Yama Dharmaraja is called. Dharma is the epitome of righteousness. So you can take refuge in him. Savitri took refuge and could get back the life of her husband. So Nachiketa went to Yama and got the Brahmagnana, Atmagnana from him. That is Kathopanishad. So he is Kathopanishad. In the Kathopanishad, Yamadharmaraya, the God of Death, is giving the knowledge of Atman. That is Kathopanishad, which Swami Vivekananda liked so much. He is giving that highest knowledge. Can you imagine? The God of Death giving that knowledge. No fear at all. You can approach Yamadharmaraya if you are pure in heart. Even if you are impure, don't worry. Approach. So no fear of death at all. See the speciality of this religion. God of death giving the knowledge of immortality. Can you imagine? So that is Kathopanishad. So in that andhe naiva niyamana yatandaha andakupe patanti, the blind will try to lead the way to another blind, and both the blind will go and fall into the ditch. So that is the words of Yamadharmaraya to Nachiketa in Kathopanishad. So Ramakrishna, the great incarnation, knew that. In fact, it's one of the special proofs of one being an incarnation, knowing that many will try to deceive people, be hypocrites, because there were some real gurus like this. So the duplicate gurus also will come. They will deceive people in the world of falsehood and fraud in their holy names. That is the reason why incarnations are proclaimed. When I shall go beyond the ken of mortal eyes, many hypocrites will appear before you and say, I am an incarnation of God. I am the refuge and savior of weak mortals. Be aware of them all. So Shardanandaji Maharaj is quoting the words of incarnation. So because knowing that many will try to deceive people in this world of falsehood and fraud in their holy names, the incarnations are proclaimed. When I shall go beyond the ken of mortal eyes, many hypocrites will appear before you and say, I am an incarnation of God. I am the refuge and savior of the weak mortals. Be aware of them all. So how can you be aware? Just study their character. Just study their purity of their mind. Just study how they behave with money and lust. They are the great litmus test. If anybody pass that litmus test, then you can take sure that they have progressed in spiritual life. Purity of mind and their desire for money and other external luxuries. So you can easily test whether they are real incarnation or gurus. So these are the two tests. See their character, watch their character day and night, and see how much they are attracted to money and luxuries. If they have given up that, if they have true love for God, then be sure they are gurus. Otherwise, you yourself can come to know there is no, you need not do any further tests. These are the two things: purity of mind, purity of character, and the other important thing is, are they doing all these spiritual things and other things for the sake of money, charging so much dollars and rands for getting more money? Then you will know the fraud and the hypocrisy of them. As soon as Mathur felt that desire, that he too wanted to have the visions like Sri Ramakrishna, he went to him and said importunately, like a small child will go and throw temper tantrums at mother, I want that, I want that, I want ice cream, you have to give it to me. No, I want, it will start jumping and shouting and crying. So like that, Mathur Babu went to Sri Ramakrishna and said importunately, Baba, father, you must do something that I may have ecstasy. I should also have ecstasy, samadhi and bhava samadhi. We can with certainty imagine that the master said to him what he used to say to all others on similar occasions. So Ramakrishna replied to Mathur, oh, it will surely come at the right time, Mathur. Does a seed sprout into a tree as soon as it is sown and yield fruits to be eaten immediately? Why, you are all right. You are keeping a fine balance between God and the world. If you have those things, ecstasy and the like, all that higher experiences, your mind will give up the world. It can't stay in the world. You have little more attachment to the world. You cannot enjoy anything of this world. You will lose all that. The world will become insipid to you if you have those visions and ecstasy. If you have those things, ecstasy and the like, your mind will give up the world. Who will be there then to take care of your family, your estate and the temple and the properties? Sure as anything, they will then be plundered away, and other people, the people of fraud or the people will deceive and take away all your property and they will plunder. because no caretaker is there. Sure as anything, they will be plundered away and enjoyed by all and sundry. What will you do then? So, that is only for people of higher caliber to have those spiritual experiences. Those who do not have any attachment to the world, they can do it. Why do you want? You are now doing the balance, right balance between God and the world. You are on the right path. Let it come to you. It will come to you. Don't worry, at the right time. But who would give ears to those words? Mathurnath was importunity itself. Father, Baba, Baba, you must give me. Father must make him attain ecstasy. When he found that such dissuasion produced no result, how much ever Ramakrishna tried to persuade him, please do not ask for that higher ecstasies. It is not for you. You are not prepared. You have a lot of worldly desires. Now you are having the balance between the world and the God. Enjoy this world. Also have catch hold of God. Once if you have these ecstasies, then you cannot have the worldly enjoyments that will become insipid. Then neither there nor here. Neither can you rise up nor can you go down. And heed to my words. Do not ask for those higher things. But Mathurnath was importunity itself. Father must make him attain ecstasy. When he found that, Ramakrishna found that such dissuasion produced no result in Mathur, then Ramakrishna raised the topic to a higher pitch. Ha, said he, do devotees want to see him? Do the people really want God? Temporarily they may get some vairagya, dispassion, just like the smashana vairagya or the markata vairagya. Temporarily, when they see some other things, they may get some temporary impact or inspiration, and that will fall down again. Who really wants God? Nobody really wants God. Ah, said he, do devotees want to see God? They only want the privilege of serving him. Then Ramakrishna is telling, even the real devotees, true devotees, they do not bother. Now Ramakrishna is advising Mathur. Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotion. The devotees, the pure devotees, they don't want all these ecstasies. They don't want all these higher experiences. But what do they really want? The devotees, real devotees, they want the privilege of serving him. So the name bhakti, devotion, comes from the word bhaj, sevayam. The root word of bhakti, it comes from the root word bhaj, meaning seva. Bhaj, sevayam. So bhakti or devotion means serving the Lord, serving the person whom you love. So a true devotee will not care for all these experiences, but he will be intent on serving the Lord. How can I serve him? How can I make the Lord happy? They only want the privilege of serving God. Direct experiences produce fear. All these experiences produce fear through the knowledge of the powers of God, and consequently love for him gets suppressed. Then you can't love the Lord really. If you see the glories, if you can see the greatness of God, then you cannot enjoy the nearness of God. You will become afraid, you will get fear. That's why do not aspire for that. You have got the great opportunity of serving. That's more than enough. Go on serving. That is true devotion, serving the Lord. Ah, said he, do devotees want to see him? They only want the privilege of serving God. Direct experiences produce fear through the knowledge of the power of God, and consequently love for him gets suppressed. Devotion will get suppressed. Now Ramakrishna even gave the example of Lord Krishna. Krishna went away to Mathura and the gopis were overwhelmed with the pangs of separation. and he sent Uddhava to console them. Uddhava was a person of Vedantic knowledge. He could not appreciate the spiritual attitude of Vrindavan people, that is, shedding tears, feeding the Lord, and dressing Lord Krishna and the like. He looked down upon the pure love of the gopis as something inferior and within Maya. So Uddhava was destined to change his views and learn by experience. That is why Lord Krishna sent him there. That was also another consideration in sending Uddhava to the gopis there. Uddhava came and began to console the gopis. Why do you behave this way and call on Krishna repeatedly? Do you not know that he is the divine Lord and is all pervading? He is in the heart of everybody. He is everywhere in this, immanent in this world. So it cannot be that he is at Mathura and not at Vrindavan. Instead of giving yourself to sorrow and despair, just once shut your eyes and see that the one having a dark blue complexion like a newly formed cloud, wearing a garland of wild flowers and playing on the flute, is always there within your heart. Uddhava said, Uddhava, to which the gopis replied, Uddhava, said the gopis, when they heard this, you are a friend of Krishna and a man of knowledge. Still, how do you speak like this? Are we persons given to meditation or persons of knowledge? Or have we got him by practicing japa, austerities and so on? Like the rishis and munis, we actually adorned and beautified him, fed him and dressed him. Are we now to do these acts in meditation? Can we do so at all? Have we that mind with which we can meditate and perform japa? It was long ago dedicated at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Have we got anything to call our own other than Lord Krishna? Even our own self, we don't have. Even our ego or individuality or our own self, we don't have a self even to call our own. We have only Krishna, the Lord, to which we may attribute the I consciousness necessary to enable us to do the act of japa or meditation or puja or whatever. Uddhava was surprised to hear all this. He then understood the depth. He understood the depth and nature of the love of gopis for Lord Krishna, saluted them as spiritual teachers, and returned. Consider, do true devotees want to see him? They feel the highest bliss in his service only. True devotees do not want all these visions. True devotees do not want all these experiences, bhava and other things. True devotees, Shuddha Bhaktas, they want only the service of the Lord. They want to serve the Lord always. So Ramakrishna himself is telling about what is true devotion. Do true devotees want to see him or have those visions and experiences? No, they feel the highest bliss in his service only. How can I serve the Lord? How can I make the Lord happy? So service in the Lord is the only thing that will make them happy. The true devotees want to see, do they want to see him or having that experiences? No, they feel the highest bliss in service only. They serve him. Beyond that, they do not want anything, visions and the like. These hamper their spiritual relationship of love with him. So again, I will tell you, all these visions and experiences, they hamper their spiritual relationship of love with the Lord. So Ramakrishna is telling the truth and giving him what is true devotion. When Sri Ramakrishna could not, when Mathur, even after all these higher truths, could not be dissuaded by these, Sri Ramakrishna said, okay, I know nothing, my friend. However, I shall tell Divine Mother and she will do whatever she likes. So when Sri Ramakrishna tells that I will tell Divine Mother, she will do whatever she likes, that means he has done. He's going to do that. He will give whatever you have asked. So he would never tell, I will do it, because he identified himself, he removed completely his ego, obliterated perfect self-abnegation, and he had established the cosmic I, the universal I in its stead. That's why I used to tell You would not never tell, I'm going to do that, I will give you. You would always tell, I shall tell mother, and mother will do whatever she likes. Now, after that, strangely, Mathur Babu then had ecstasy, all those experiences, bhava. He was constantly started having that experiences, the visions in that bhava. So Mathur then had ecstasies. After a few days, the master himself explained about that. Now he sent for me. Mathur Babu now couldn't do anything in his house because he's constantly having all those visions and ecstasies. So now he sent for me, means he called Ramakrishna. He sent a carriage to come to his house. Why? What happened when Sri Ramakrishna went there? When I went there to his house, I found that Mathur was, as it were, a different, completely different man. His eyes were red and tears were flowing. Speaking of God, he was shedding floods of tears. God and God alone, nothing. His eyes were red and tears were flowing. Speaking of God only, he was shedding floods of tears. And his heart was trembling with quick pulsation. When he saw me, he clasped both my feet, caught hold of my feet tightly, and said, "Excuse me, Father, forgive me, Father. Baba, Kama Karun, Kshama Karo. Excuse me, Father, forgive me, Father. I admit my defeat. I admit my defeat. You told me so many times, do not aspire for those things that will come on the right time. As a true devotee, you serve. Service is the highest thing. Serve." So Swami Vivekananda used to tell, my Gurudev Ramakrishna used to tell, the only thing you can give up your meditation, the only thing you can give up your spiritual practice or japa or meditation is for the sake of serving the Lord, service to the human beings in the form of Lord, or service to your Guru, service to the saints. So for the sake of service, that is the only place where you can give up meditation or your spiritual practices. That was told by my Guru, Swami Vivekananda used to tell. So now, how many times, how many different ways you tried to convince me, telling that service to the Lord is enough, you are serving, you got an opportunity to serve. Do not aspire for all those things that will come on the right time. But I didn't heed your words, Baba. He caught hold of the feet, he clasped both my feet and said, "Excuse me, Father, I admit my defeat. I have been in this condition for the last 3 days." See, only 3 days. And he has got tired. He can't withstand that. He's not ready for that. The mind should be made pure and ready. The body should be strong to withstand all these things. Body, mind, everything has to be made strong by sadhana, and purity has to be gained by service. Otherwise, you can't withstand that. So many people will come and tell that, oh, I have not got vision, I have not got this, that. Then I remind them of the words of Swami Vivekananda. What does Swami Vivekananda tell? First of all, have you had a vision of a ghost? Have you seen a ghost? Then they will tell no. Then first see a ghost, because it is the lowest supersensual manifestation which anybody, ordinary people can see. So if they hear of a ghost, if they come to know that there is a ghost or a devil somewhere, they will have a heart attack and die. And there are things that when the ghosts are seen by people, they become so afraid, they get so much of fever and other things, they may even die out of heart attack. We used to hear as small children, oh, they saw the ghost and they vomited blood and died. So you don't have the capacity, spiritual capacity, to see the extra sensual vision of an ordinary, most ordinary ghost. What to speak of the higher powers like gods and higher visions? Compared to that, the ghost is a very, very, very small thing, the minutest, the lowest extra sensual thing. supersensual vision, then if you cannot withstand, your mind is not ready to withstand, you are so afraid you will run away. You may have everything there. If such is the case, you will get so afraid to see a ghost. Then how much preparation have you to make for seeing the higher aspect of supersensual experiences, that is God? So that is not an ordinary thing. So now the reality is given. Just serve the Lord, serve the Lord. On the right time, you will get everything. Serve, intensely serve, develop love, devotion to God. Develop love and devotion to God. Serve the Lord. That itself will give you everything. Serve the poor, the diseased, serve the people in difficulty, seeing Lord in them. That can give you wonderful result. That will prepare you, make you strong. Now Mathur Babu is telling, Father, I admit my defeat. Excuse me. I have been in this condition for the last 3 days. I cannot at all apply my mind to the affairs of my estate, which Ramakrishna told. Please do not ask for that. You cannot look after anything then. All your work will go to shambles. Now he's telling, agreeing, I cannot at all apply my mind to the affairs of my state. In spite of all my efforts, consequently, everything is going wrong. Please take back the ecstasy conferred by you. I don't want it. Why? Ramakrishna asked him. Said I, did you not pray for ecstasy? Did you not force me that you want these visions? To which Mathur Babu replied, yes, Baba, yes, Father, yes, I did so. And there is also bliss in it. I find there is so much of bliss in it. But of what avail is it? Everything on this side is going to ruins. All my family, my wife, my children, my all those property, everything is going to ruins. This ecstasy of yours, Baba, Father, this ecstasy of yours, Father, befits only you. We don't want all these things. Please take it back. Then Ramakrishna laughed at him and said, I told you so previously. Yes, Father, said he. But could I understand then so clearly that something like this, something like a ghost would possess me, and that I should have to take every step according to its whim? All the 24 hours it is controlling me. Something like a ghost, it would possess me, and that I should have to take every step according to its whim all the 24 hours and could do nothing even if I had a mind to do. Then Sri Ramakrishna passed his hand on Mathur's chest. Then everything came back to normalcy. Shardanandaji is writing now, it will not do simply to have Bhava Samadhi. How many are the people who can bear the power of its upsurge? How many can retain it? It is impossible to do so as long as there is the slightest worldly desire. It is impossible to do so as long as there is the slightest worldly desire to enjoy this world. That is why the scriptures ask the pilgrim on the path to the realization of God to be free from desires even at the outset. It is by detachment and renunciation that some attained immortality. It is by detachment and renunciation that some attained immortality. So goes the teachings of the Upanishad. What is that Upanishad? Kaivalya Upanishad tells that it is by detachment and renunciation that some attained immortality. So goes the teaching of the Upanishads. Samadhi of a lower plane may be had by the momentary exuberance of emotions, but it cannot be maintained in a man in whom masses of desires, the character is not strong, who has masses of desire for wealth, name, fame, and the like abound in such a person. He cannot withstand that ecstasy. Acharyas Shankara, Shankaracharya says in Viveka Chudamani, the 79th verse, which I am discussing on every Tuesday, Viveka Chudamani, the crucible of discrimination, in which the Acharya Shankara says, the 79th verse, the crocodile of desire clutches by the neck those who proceed to cross the sea of the world without taking with them the antidote of detachment for their journey, makes them turn round and forcibly drowns them in the unfathomable waters of the sea. The Viveka Chudamani, 79th verse, Shankaracharya tells that the crocodile of desire clutches by the neck those who proceed to cross the sea of the world without taking with them the antidote of the detachment for their journey, makes them turn round and forcibly drowns them in the unfathomable waters of the sea. So without developing renunciation, without developing detachment, if you jump into this ocean, the desires in the form of the crocodile will clutch their necks and drown them into the unfathomable waters of the sea. We had below one of the many instances of this truth we had observed while we were with Sri Ramakrishna. He was then staying at the Kashipur garden house. One day, a few Vaishnava devotees came with an absent-minded young man. So the Vaishnava devotees came to Sri Ramakrishna with an absent-minded young man. We never saw them come before. The reason why they came was that they wanted to show that young man to the master and know master's opinion about the strange spiritual state that had suddenly come upon him. So word was sent to Sri Ramakrishna, and he saw the young man. The face and chest of the young man was red, and he was seen taking the dust of the feet of all with humility. As he was repeating God's name, he was having frequent tremors and horripilations, and both his eyes were reddish and a little swollen, owing to an incessant flow of tears. That person who was having all these ecstasies was of dark blue complexion, was neither fat nor thin, and had a tuft of hair on his head. His face and limbs were graceful and well built. He wore a rather unclean white cloth without borders. He had neither a wrapper for his upper garment nor a pair of shoes for his feet. He seemed quite indifferent to the cleanliness or preservation of his body. We were told, the high-strung state had come on him suddenly when one day he was singing the praise of Hari. Since then, he had been virtually taking no food and having no sleep. He was weeping day and night and rolling on the ground in his longing to realize the Lord. He had been in that state during the last few days. So, we have seen in nobody but Sri Ramakrishna such a power of noticing and diagnosing physical changes produced in man by the prevalence of spiritual emotions. So he was an expert in Anga Samudrika and Mukha Samudrika, and not only that, all the things of spiritual life. So, physiognomy and everything. He could know what are the emotions happening in anybody's mind, the thoughts and everything. He was expert. So master degree of a new wonderful thing can be seen here. We have seen nobody in nobody but Sri Ramakrishna, such a power of noticing and diagnosing physical changes produced in man by prevalence of spiritual emotions. The spiritual teachers has been described in the Guru Gita and other books as the physician of the worldly disease. Bhavaroga Vaidya, physician of the worldly disease. So the Guru in the Guru Gita, Guru is described as the spiritual teacher, has been described in the Guru Gita and other books as the physician, the doctor of the worldly disease, Bhavaroga Vaidya. We did not at all understand that so much hidden meaning was there in it. Shardanandaji is telling, in those days we did not understand that there was so much meaning in these words before we had the blessings of meeting Sri Ramakrishna. We had no notion of the fact that the Guru was indeed the physician of mental diseases and could diagnose at first sight the modifications of the human mind due to the influence of spiritual emotions. What is more, if from the reading of the external signs the Guru finds them favorable, he prescribes methods following which the aspirant can scale higher altitudes of spirituality. And if he finds them unfavorable, he devises means which slowly removes them without harming the aspirant. It is only because we saw Sri Ramakrishna doing this every day that we have a firm conviction on this matter in our minds. When Swami Vivekananda attained the Nirvikalpa Samadhi for the first time, we saw Sri Ramakrishna prescribe immediately, do not take food out of anybody's hand now for some days. Cook your own food. In this state, one can at the most take food out of one's own mother's hand. This state gets destroyed if one takes food out of everybody's and anybody's else's hand. So Ramakrishna knew every intricacies of everything of spiritual experience. Now when Narendra or Swami Vivekananda had the first experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, for the first time, we saw Sri Ramakrishna prescribe immediately to him, do not take food out of anybody's hand. Now for some days, cook your own food. In this state, one can at the most take food out of one's own mother's hand. This state gets destroyed if one takes food out of anybody else's hand. But there is no such fear when afterwards it becomes natural to you. When he saw Gopala's mother suffering physically due to the increase, the Gopala's mother is Gopalerma, Aghoremani Devi. She was a great devotee of child Krishna, worshipped child Krishna and had the vision of that through the help of Sri Ramakrishna. When he saw Gopala's mother, Gopalerma, suffering physically due to the increase of affection of the humor of the wind in her body, Vata, he said, that windy humor of yours is nothing but the humor of Hari. What will you occupy yourself if it goes? It must continue. But when you feel the pain unbearable, eat something, eat a little. When he saw that a certain devotee's mind could not merge in God, forgetting the body, owing to a firm habit of observing external purification and attachment thereto, he prescribed privately, call on God once by making a mark on your forehead with the clay of the place where people answer nature's call. Seeing that an unrestrained bodily agitation during Sankirtan was adverse to the progress of someone, he scolded him and said, "Ah, you rogue, you have come to show off your spirituality to others. You have come to show off spiritual emotion to me. Do spiritual emotions ever produce these agitations? One then merges completely and becomes motionless. Why this agitation? Be calm and tranquil." To the others, do you know what kind of spiritual emotions these are? These resemble a chatak. In India, the smallest measure is called chatak. The smallest, just like you can tell, ounce. So that ounce is called in Indian this thing as chatak. Then it is pau. Then it is seer. So pau, the lowest is chatak, smallest measurement, ounce, just like ounce. Then after chatak, it is the pau. Then after pau, it is the seer. Then that goes on, khandaga and so many other measurement for voluminous measurement. That was the use. So Ramakrishna is telling chatak here. Chatak means smallest, about 2 ounces. They resemble a chatak, about 2 ounces of milk being boiled in a cauldron over the fire. One thinks it to be a large quantity, a cauldron full. So you then take it down and find not a single drop there. The very little that was there has stuck to the side of the cauldron. perceiving the mental inclination of someone else, he said, "Enjoy to your heart's content, you rascal, but don't think that you do all these as religious duties." So Ramakrishna used to find out anybody, whatever state they may be, and also used to give them solutions too. And the solution he would give would be the perfect solution. The moment Sri Ramakrishna saw the above mentioned young man, now we saw that the Vaishnavas had bought one young man who was in some sort of a spiritual ecstasy. So he was touching the feet of everybody, always telling the name of Hari. He was dirty, was not giving much this thing to the bodily needs. So when he saw, Sri Ramakrishna could understand what was his condition. The moment Ramakrishna saw the above mentioned young man, he said, "Ah, it is, I find, the commencement of the Madhura Bhava." The Vaishnava literature has called the ecstatic mode of spiritual love the Madhura Bhava, which was seen in Radharani at Vrindavan in its fully developed stage, with all the 19 modifications classified into 8 groups and named as the 8 Sattvika modification, example laughing, weeping, tears, tremors, horripilation, sweating, fainting, etc. The culmination of this Mahabhava is known as the culmination of this Madhura Bhava is known as the Mahabhava or the Great Mood. It is in this stage that all the 19 physical modifications mentioned above are manifest fully, all owing to a superabundance of love for the Lord. It is said that ordinary mortals, even when perfected, cannot reach that dizzy height. It is possible for the divine incarnations only. So the moment Sri Ramakrishna saw the above mentioned young man, he said, "Ah, it is, I find, the commencement of the Madhura Bhava. But this state will not last. He cannot retain it. His mind is not pure. His character is not pure. He cannot retain it. It is very difficult to retain this state." Now he gave the remedy to. As soon as a woman is touched lustfully, this spiritual mood will vanish. Be that as it may, the devotees who came felt a little consoled when they knew from the master's words that the young man's brain was not deranged, and went back. A little afterwards, news reached us that the master's prediction came true. The young man had been overcome by the fateful calamity. He had ascended, fortunately, to a very high plane, indeed, owing to the momentary excitement of Sankirtan, but alas, it came down to as low as a plane as the heights to which he had risen, for he lacked the fitness to sustain the reaction of the mood, and he had haphazardly obtained without the necessary previous preparation of the purity of mind. That's why Swami Vivekananda therefore always said, favored devotion with discrimination. Devotion, bhakti should be always accompanied with gnana and vairagya. If you go just for devotion without vairagya, renunciation and detachment, then all these things are going to happen. That's why Swami Vivekananda therefore always favored devotion with discrimination and knowledge, gnana, and taught people to practice that kind of devotion that they should otherwise fall victims to dangers of this type. Otherwise, there is every chances of falling to this type, because by the temporary exuberance of Sankirtan and dancing and jumping and taking the name of the Lord, loud music can temporarily induce you to such visions or ecstasies. But because we have not made our mind strong or made pure by sadhana, we don't have the character and conduct or the purity of the mind, so that height or the spiritual ecstasy cannot sustain there. And the danger is, after that may go down to such a lower level that it may make him a debauch, it may make him a characterless fellow too. That's why Swami Vivekananda used to prescribe devotion with renunciation, devotion with knowledge. That is the reason why Sri Ramakrishna used to always tell Gnana Mishrita Bhakti, Gnana Mishrita Bhakti. So have devotion with the knowledge of God, with renunciation, with dispassion. So devotion with renunciation and dispassion and knowledge, that is what Sri Ramakrishna used to prescribe. Otherwise, all these chances are there. Temporary emotional exuberance, singing kirtan, we can see while singing, they shout, they make loud noises, ha, hum, they jump and sweat and fret and fume while doing the Sankirtan. So they don't have the necessary purity of mind. By that jumping and fretting and fuming and singing the name of the Lord, you may get a temporary bhava, something like this. But because the mind is not pure, because we don't have that character to sustain, we have so many desires and so many sins within us, so it will drag us down so low that it will be very difficult to come out of that. That's why there's a reason Sharadanandaji is describing all these things, taking the example of Mathur, taking the example of that Vaishnava person who had come there, that we should not aspire for these emotions, but important thing is renunciation, devotion, then dispassion, then knowledge of God, studying our life, making our mind tranquil and calm. So not just exuberance of devotion or emotions. Should have devotion combined with knowledge and renunciation. That's very, very important. They have learnt a very great lesson in spiritual life. So the Guru in the form of Sri Ramakrishna is leading us how to lead the spiritual life. What are the basic necessities? What are the basics of spiritual life? We jump into the water and then start learning to swim. So, but now Ramakrishna is taking us. What are the ups and downs? What are the pitfalls? Should be careful. Should not just close our eyes and jump into the fray. Look before you leap, but once you leap, do not look backwards. So, what a wonderful guidance by Sri Ramakrishna. We will all note this, etch these things in our heart, and follow the advice of Sri Ramakrishna in the spiritual life, where it will protect us. Now, it is time for question answer. If you have any, we can now entertain that. If anybody is having any doubts or questions, you can ask now.
Om Namo Narayanaya.
Om Namo Narayanaya. Chandrup Chandji, please tell.
Something you mentioned about a guru should have purity of character.
Yeah.
And there is something else also you mentioned. Can you just repeat that one more time?
No, now Sharadanandaji Maharaj told us, just like the great incarnation and the great gurus are the original ones, many people looking at them, they will try to imitate them to get name and fame and to get too many followers, but in reality they will have not this purity of character. So if you want to test, if you want to find the right guru, watch their character, how they have the purity of mind. Watch, test their aspiration for money and luxuries. So these are the 2-3 things with which they will fail. They will have not sufficient renunciation. So the real guru or the realized person who has love for God will not aspire for these things. They will gradually develop that purity of character, perfection, purity of mind. So that itself is the litmus test for you to test anybody before accepting them as guru. So many imitation people will be there. Many people who have seen, people are attracted, emotional, they will get attracted to such gurus. They will in the externals only, they will put wonderful dress and other insignias, and they may try to fool the people and collect money and they will be all fraud, so many things you'll be knowing outside. So a warning is given. What is the litmus test? It should have this purity of mind. And another thing, it's the spirituality can never be given, sold for money. So if they are collecting dollars and other things, charging things, so these are all the things by which you can understand. They may give you some health and other techniques of meditation, but that would not be true spirituality. So it is just for money. So that is what here Shardanandaji is making us clear. What are the basic prerequisites?
Thank you very much.
Yes, Chandrup Chanj. Any other questions?
Namaste, Maharaj.
Namaste.
This is Shantanu.
Shantanu, please tell.
Yes, Maharaj. Today you explained about how dispassion and like knowledge of God is equally important as gaining devotion. So
Yeah.
in our daily, day-to-day activities, like could you please give some tidbits how to acquire this along with devotion?
Yeah, see, your intense desire to maintain your body, you can just keep your body for the sake of an instrument, a good instrument, healthy body to do the sadhana and your work and look after your family. But you should not give too much importance for the luxuries. So gradually you can give up all the attachments. The attachment should now turn seeing God in all the people and those things. You should develop devotion. So that should not be the worldly attachment for your selfish gains and other things. So yes, we had the desires, we have seen the world. Now gradually have dispassion and withdraw from that. Gradually. We never tell nothing is revolutionized. No revolution. It should be always evolution, a gradual process. So as and when your devotion to God increases, gradually these things also will go away, the importance to them. So let it happen naturally, just like a coconut tree. The leaf of the tree there, it dries up and automatically it falls off. If you go to forcibly pluck that out, then it may pain the tree or it may cause harm to the tree, damage to the tree. So as it get dries up, naturally the coconut tree will fall off. Like that, all these things, the vairagya and other things, as you develop love to the God, as you go forward in spiritual life, doing your japa, the purification will come, and all these things will become insipid, the lower things. For example, if you taste once the ambrosia, suppose all these days we were drinking very impure water, gutter water. So now we have tasted ambrosia. Now you didn't get ambrosia. Would you still love to have that gutter water again? Never. It's just like that. So when you taste God, when you go towards God, the sweetness of the God, these things will gradually come to you. So that is more than enough. So if there is a wound, do not, when it is drying up, do not pluck it up. Naturally, we get that itching sensation. We have a wound and that black skin will be developing there on it, drying. So, but our mind is so restless. What we do is we go on scratching it or trying to remove that skin. Until it has dried properly, it will fall down by itself naturally. But what we go to do is we try to remove it forcibly, and again there will be a wound, and again it needs healing and medicine. That's why let it be a gradual process. Develop love towards God, and these things will automatically fall off.
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, we shall close the discussion with the prayer. So we will meet again next Thursday. Today evening we have the science of worship discussion about puja. So now we have almost come to the portion of the actual worship, the Shopachar Puja. So today we will be thinking about that meditation and enter into Padya, the service, different services to the Lord. Anybody interested in learning puja and the significance of it? So you can join the YouTube channel today at 6 o'clock in the evening, 6 p.m. In India, the Indian Standard Time will be 9:30. And tomorrow we have that Vivek Chudamani, the Festival of Discrimination, which today the 79th verse was quoted by Sharadanandaji Maharaj. If you enter into the sea of this worldly sea without renunciation or dispassion, then the crocodile of desire will catch hold of your neck and take it to the fathom, the depth of this world, sea, ocean. So all these things are discussed there in this Vedantic manual, Prakarana Grantha, Viveka Chudamani, that will be tomorrow, Tuesday in the evening, again the same time, 6 o'clock. Then Wednesday we have the Bhagavad Gita in the evening. Thursday, Friday we have the Great Master in the morning. Then Saturday again we have the Bhagavad Gita. Sunday, Monday, as today we will have the early morning Great Master class. 9:30 on Sunday we will have the Hinduism for children's classes. So where we are giving them different aspects of Hinduism, samskaras of Hinduism, teaching them Sanskrit alphabets, then yoga, pranayama and all these things. Anybody interested to put their children or anybody, their neighbors to that, they can make use of that opportunity. So until next Thursday, we shall read and again meditate of what we have discussed today and get the benefit of it. And that meditation on Ramakrishna will help us move forward in spiritual life and get that necessary purification. Om Priyatam Pundarikakshaha Sarvayagneshwaro Harihi Tasman Tushte Jagat Tushtam Prenite Prenitam Jagat Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.